final presentation is by Chitrangani Mubarak. She's the Senior Program Head E-Society at the ICT Agency of Sri Lanka. Her work is very much in the ICT4D domain. She has been instrumental in developing ICTA's partnerships, which have brought out some innovative applications and content that have potential to have significant impact on society. She has worked to get these projects introduced at the grassroots level. And to recognize some of these work, ICTA has launched a National Best Content Award, Iswabimani, and I think the best submissions are also then forwarded to Manthan and the Global World Summit Award. So to make her presentation on taking internet to the people, a Sri Lankan perspective, please welcome Chitrangani Mubarak.
Thank you, Ruan. I'd like to thank the organizers of the conference for giving me the opportunity to present our experience in taking internet to the people, the Sri Lankan perspective. Let me take you back 7 years to 2004. At the time, computer literacy in Sri Lanka was just over 9%, and it was even that much because of the literacy in the urban areas. In rural areas, it was much, much lower, some places even less than 2%. Internet penetration was less than 1%. Mobile penetration was a mere 11%, and our per capita income was around US $1,000. We were grappling with a war, and our economy was somewhat crippled as a result. And this then was the environment in which the ICTA launched the Sri Lanka initiative and sought to take the dividends of ICT to every village and every citizen. So what then were our challenges? At the time, I think, this is as I see it, the main challenge, one of the main challenges was the lack of awareness. Majority of the people living in our country didn't know what the internet was, didn't know what it could bring to them. They didn't know that there was a vast storehouse of knowledge waiting out there to be tapped. They didn't know that there were products and services which would be delivered to their doorstep. And stemming from this lack of awareness, there was also lack of capacity. They didn't know to use a computer, they didn't know to get on the internet or to use the internet. The next problem would be access. The problem of access is twofold. People were denied access because of the lack of basic infrastructure. Right across the country, there wasn't adequate infrastructure, no hardware, no connectivity to take the internet to the people. The other side of access was the access in terms of language. As you all know, the language of the internet is largely English. And if we want to take internet to the people, we have to go to them in their language, not in somebody else's language. So that was also a problem. And then content. Even if you have awareness, you have your infrastructure, and you have given them access, if there is nothing on the internet that is meaningful to the majority of people, what's the use of internet to them? So these are the three key areas that I see needed to get resolved. Of course, there are lots of other problems like privacy, security, various other things, but I see these as the three key challenges. And our approach to resolving these had to be a multifaceted approach, and which would tackle awareness, capacity building, access, as well as the need for content and services. The Nanasala, I think that is a really multifaceted program which was able to resolve some of these key challenges all in one shot. It gave the basic infrastructure. We now have over 600 nanosalas. It gave connectivity, and it provided the hardware right across the country in very remote rural areas. It also created the awareness at the grassroots. These nanosalas sprouting up in various corners of the country naturally led to awareness in those areas as well. But there was another thing that happened, which was not really planned, but it happened because the design of the nanosala structure was that ICTA would support them in the first 4 years. We phase out gradually over the 4 years. At the end of the fourth year, they are on their own. which meant they had to be self-sustainable. So what did most of the nanasalers do? They started computer classes. Computer classes that are running around the cities now. Nanasaler-driven computer classes were many, and it served to build capacity at the grassroots as well. And nanosalers were also a vehicle through which a lot of services were delivered to the community, and people got attracted to the internet as a result. Then let's discuss the problem of language. It was ICTA's mandate to take the benefits of ICT, of the internet, to every village and every citizen. So to do that, obviously you can't do it in the English language. It's a foreign language to most of us, and you cannot really take it to people in somebody else's language. If given the choice, I think most of the people in our country would prefer to have access to the internet through their own mother tongue. So that had to get addressed. I don't say that English language is not necessary, not at all. I'm a strong believer in the fact that we have to teach every citizen of our country to be very, very fluent in English to get by. But it takes time. And not only that, for adults to learn a language, it's not easy. I can say that for a fact because I myself have made a very sincere attempt twice to learn the Tamil language, and I have been most unsuccessful. So I know for a fact that it's not easy to learn another language. So we've got to take the internet to the people in their language. And the ICTA, very early in its existence, started the local language initiative together with several stakeholders, the universities, the Sri Lanka Standards Institution, and these are some of the things that got done. I'm sure this will be dealt with in more detail later on in the afternoon. We've got the Unicode standards for Sinhala language and the Tamil language. We created awareness on the Unicode standards. We got the buy-in of font developers. We even developed 2 fonts ourselves, which was Bhashita for the Sinhala language and Sri Tamil for the Tamil language. But we got font developers to develop other Unicode compliant fonts. We've standardized the Sinhala and Tamil keyboard layouts, but we didn't just stay at that. I mean, there is no point standardizing it and then sitting back. We went to the vendors, the producers of the keyboards, to make sure that the standardized keyboards were now available for use. We've developed keyboard drivers, and we have standardized Sinhala and Tamil sorting. And we've worked with our partners to ensure that user interfaces for the popular OSs have been enabled in the Sinhala language. Having got this also resolved, now you have access resolved, language resolved, and what's the next problem, like I said, was the issue of content. There's got to be content that is it's not just merely an issue of the language. It's got to be localized content, presented in local language, attractive, user-friendly, that would be meaningful to the community.